Welcome to Just Winging It. I'm Mariah, and today we're going to be attempting to make a baked Alaska. If you don't know what a baked Alaska is, check it out. Baked Alaskas are super cool. They're basically just a bougie ass ice cream cake for adults. You get to like blowtorch the outside, and there's a bunch of layers, and it's pretty and colorful. But the best thing of all is that today we're gonna be using eggnog. Now I know this is an ice cream cake, but this makes for a really cool Christmas recipe or a holiday recipe. They just look so beautiful and toasted on the outside. So try it out for your holiday parties this year. I promise you it will be a total hit, and all the booze is gonna warm everyone up anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's cold. I've never had one of these before, and I've certainly never made one, but my neighbor let me borrow her Donna Hay recipe book, and I saw it in there and I was like, this thing is awesome. I have to try and make it because I want to use a torch. So here we are. Okay, so after looking over the recipe a little bit more closely, I'm not really gonna follow it. I'm gonna stick with the raspberry sherbet and the eggnog flavors, but I'm gonna kind of do my own thing with it. Hope to God for the best. The recipe called for some vanilla custard from the store, but I couldn't find any vanilla custard. And I couldn't find any like instant vanilla custard or anything. I couldn't find freaking vanilla custard. So I thought the next best thing is gonna be pudding. Now I know they're not the same thing, but it'll be fine. So I got this fun white chocolate vanilla bean pudding, and you're supposed to make it with milk, but I don't follow the recipe. We got eggnog. Now I'm gonna use the eggnog and the white chocolate vanilla bean pudding and hope that it's good. You can follow the directions on the back of the packet if you choose. I'm using 1 3/4 cups of eggnog and mixing that with the packet instead of using 2 cups of milk, and I'm hoping it gives it a thicker consistency, much like custard. But this is all an experiment, and it might end up being a complete disaster, so make sure to watch to the end to see how this video plays out. Okay, so I'm gonna let this custard sit in the fridge for about 30 minutes or until whenever I need it. Now it's time to make the meringue cake base. Okay. We're gonna make our meringue cake base by whisking together our egg whites and powdered sugar. Let's start with our egg whites and slowly add our powdered sugar in, adding about a tablespoon at a time every 30 seconds or so. And we're gonna watch these get nice and fluffy. We want stiff peaks, people. This recipe calls for room temperature egg whites. If you don't have room temperature egg whites, you can just put them in some warm water for about 5 minutes and it will bring them up to temperature. Also, make sure to scrape the sides to get all the powdered sugar mixed in. Once this is done, we're gonna put it on a baking sheet and bake it at a really low temperature. Stiff peaks, baby. Boing, boing. I'm gonna use a springform pan as my guide of what size I need. This is just a random hack that I came up with since I don't have a piping bag and I feel like a piping bag is just extra work anyways. This worked really great, especially since my springform pan was the perfect size for the bowl I'm going to be using for my ice cream dome. So the meringue and the dome will fit together perfectly. I'm making an extra meringue with this since I decided not to follow the recipe halfway through the recipe, but that's okay. I can just eat it later because these are so tasty. We're going to bake this at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and then turn our oven off and let them sit in there for another 30 minutes or so with the door closed. This will prevent them from cracking due to a sudden change of temperature. Okay, now we're gonna make the eggnog ice cream layer. So I'm gonna mix together the ice cream, some spices, and my custard. And then we're gonna form it in the bowl, freeze that, and then fill it with the raspberry sherbet. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna use about 3 cups of vanilla ice cream and about half a cup of our vanilla pudding. Fun fact, I didn't actually measure anything. We're also gonna throw in a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and ground cloves and mix until everything is well combined. I recommend keeping your ice cream completely frozen in this step. I left it out to make it a little bit softer. It ended up being too soft after I mixed everything together and it wouldn't form very well in the bowl. But if this happens, it's okay. I'll show you how to work with it. Okay, this looks incredible. Yum, dang girl. We're gonna line our bowl with plastic wrap. This is supposed to make it easier when you pull it out of the bowl, but I only put 1 layer down, so it just kept ripping and it was kind of a nightmare. It took me about 10 minutes to get it out, so I recommend putting a few layers down because it'll be way easier. We're gonna add all of our eggnog ice cream mix to the bowl and try and form it around the sides of the bowl. If it's too soft, you can just throw it all in the bowl and freeze it for 30 minutes and then form it along the sides and then freeze it for another 45 minutes to an hour. After it's frozen completely, we're gonna take our sherbet and fill the rest of the bowl up. Push it down into the eggnog ice cream and try and eliminate any air bubbles and smooth the top of it out so it can sit nicely on our meringue cake. Now we're gonna pop this thing in the freezer again. The recipe says to freeze it for 6 hours or overnight, but I froze it for like 2 hours and it was totally fine and it turned out really great. So just freeze it for a few hours, make sure it's solid, and you're good to go. My little meringue things turned out great. Check this out. They are light and airy and fluffy. We're gonna make the meringue stuff to go on the top, and then we're gonna push out the torch. Torch it up. Add together 1 1/4 cups of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 1/2 cup of water, and stir together until well combined. Bring this to a boil and reduce the heat and let it cook for about 4 minutes or so. Add the egg whites to your mixer and mix on high until soft peaks form. Add in 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and whisk until stiff peaks form again, and repeat again for the remaining portion of the sugar. While the mixer continues to mix very slowly and consistently, add in your hot syrup mixture. Now, I was a little hesitant when it came to this step because if you've seen my Tron video, you know what a horrific story that was. Oh no. Ow, fucking shit. Ow, fucking. So anyways, whisk this for about 5 minutes. You should end up with a thick, glossy, and fluffy consistency. So I got our little meringue cake thing. Well, it's supposed to just pop right out now, isn't it? And it's not doing it. Okay, bear with me, folks. There we go, popped it out finally. Look at how cool this looks. Okay, we're gonna add this meringue topping all over our ice cream dome, covering everything. Swirl it, pat it, really anything you think would look cool after you take a torch to it. Some people pipe it on and get perfect peaks all around, but for me, the swirl and pat method seems to be the easiest while still looking really cool. Time for the real fun. And more food on my face. Now we're gonna take our small handheld torch and lightly toast the outside, making a nice golden brown layer on the meringue topping. Okay, here we go. Cutting this baby open. I don't have a plate. Look at that! Just to give you guys a close up. Beautiful. I don't even know how to eat this. Okay. It's cold. Oh man, it's really good though. I thought the eggnog and the sherbet would be really weird together, but it's really nice, and the meringue on the bottom adds a really nice crunch to it. Oh, really cold. A+. This is a great Christmas dessert. I encourage you guys to try this recipe. It really wasn't very hard. It's really fun to incorporate the torch, and it's fun to experiment in your kitchen, so I encourage you to do just that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had a great time, and I hope you try new recipes. As always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!